A northern Tasmanian family is fighting to keep its 96-year-old bedridden matriarch in Australia. The Immigration Minister says there are no plans to deport British woman Gladys Jefferson, but her family will have to appeal the Immigration Department's decision to refuse Mrs Jefferson a visa if she's to remain in the country legally.
Bedridden 96-year-old Gladys Jefferson's being cared for in northern Tasmania by her only surviving family. She was living alone on Britain's Isle of Wight when she sought their help because of her failing health. Her daughter and son-in-law brought her to Tasmania on a tourist visa, but with an application for a permanent visa rejected last week, she's now facing possible deportation. The family fear the flight back to the United Kingdom could kill her.
From being able to actually, to stand up and walk a few steps to not being able to stand up at all. So effectively she's bedridden.
They believe the Immigration Department rejected the application for a permanent visa because Mrs Jefferson doesn't fit the health requirements. The Griggs say Mrs Jefferson's substantial savings and ongoing British pension means she can support herself. Immigration lawyer Ray Turner says a permanent visa should have been granted, as the $52,000 in fees and surety would offset any burden to the Australian purse.
I was appalled when I read this story. I didn't think we were a country that would put artificial hurdles in the way of a 96-year-old.
The story's generated headlines around the world and plenty of debate.
Because there's been a number of responses this morning from our viewers as we've been reporting this story, suggesting, well, look, that's just the classic MO of a queue jumper.
Mrs Jefferson's family says they acted on advice from the Australian High Commission in London.
That was the only way to come in, was to come in on a tourist visa and then apply for what's called an onshore visa. We'd already applied for an offshore visa in the UK, which was the correct process.
The Immigration Minister says there are no plans to remove Mrs Jefferson while there's a visa application before the department. Chris Bowen says his department's working with the family to advise them of their options.
There's not been a phone call saying, look, we understand your circumstances, look, that we'll try and find some way around this.
In the meantime, they've applied for a 12-month medical treatment visa. Jessica Kidd, ABC News.